welcome to another lore video. And first up, on Tuesday the 10th this week was the 10th birthday of Elite Dangerous. It came out on the 10th of December 2014. So happy 10th birthday, Elite Dangerous. The Cobra Mark V was supposed to commemorate this on Tuesday, but it got put forward to Thursday because it would have meant server downtime at a crucial point in the war in and around Sol. And it always seems easier anyway for them to incorporate new stuff into the Thursday maintenance, as they've been doing with the power play balances so far. The Cobra. It's not just a ship, it's an icon in the game. It was a ship you flew in the very first Elite game, for the entire game, back in 1984. The default name of your commander was Jameson, if you didn't pick a name of your own. Jameson, in his Cobra, went on to be the pilot who ended the first Stargoid war, and became a folk hero in the game series. So whether or not you feel we need another Cobra, to have a new SCO version was almost something they had to do. And when you think about a ship to commemorate the 10th birthday of Elite Dangerous, and the fact that we recently got the game-changing SCO drives, it really couldn't have been anything else. I haven't got one yet, but Bird does a good review of it, and it is a very nice looking ship, and from all accounts so far, it flies as good as it looks. So I'll give it a bash and I'll put some impressions of it in a future video, but in the meantime, Bird's video has some really nice footage of the ship in flight, so go and watch that if you haven't already. So what about Cocijo then? Well, when it took off for Sol, it was moving fast. Unlike last time when the Titans were on their way here, this time we have SCO drives, but even with them, nobody could keep up with it. The Titan was moving at around 6,600 C, so there was no chance of staying with it, catching it, or intercepting it. It was seriously motoring. The only thing that could have stayed with it, ironically, is the new Cobra Mark V. Commander Sov over in Cannon reported that the signal from Cocijo could be picked up on the FSS all the way out to Samota's Beacon, also called Isham's Reach. That's past Beagle Point and over 65,000 light years away. That is mind-blowing, a signal that can be detected across the entire galaxy. It wasn't trying to hide, it was going for Sol, and it didn't seem to care who knew it. Was this a psychological tactic in itself? Well, it certainly got people in Sol panicking. They were rioting, lashing out, blaming the abductees for somehow summoning the Titan, and also blaming Shojin for telling the Thargoids where Sol was. And it would be easy to dismiss them as a dumb lynch mob and say that the IQ of a mob is the square root of the number of people in it. But the other side of it is their own factions and powers aren't exactly reassuring them or helping them much or saying anything useful. Most of the time it seems like only Aegis and the independent pilots fighting the war know what's going on. And an interesting point was made by fellow Squaddy Flying Frog when he said, "Where's all the media hounding the superpowers for answers, questioning everything, making up conspiracy theories and all the stuff that we know they'd do today if anything remotely strange happened?" Beyond an occasional bit of posturing from the superpowers, we've had very little of the kind of hype and news attention that you'd expect. Even with war stories dominating the narrative, they've been little more than simple reports and news about breakthroughs. For a narrative that's dominated for 2 years, it has been a bit lacking. And even taking into account the trouble FDev and other British companies have had in the last couple of years, and they have had a lot of trouble in the last couple of years, I still think they could have done a bit more here. You know, if anything, hard times are when you should be more in touch with your players than ever. Show them you care and they'll help you survive. Ignore them for months on end and they'll start wondering if you're even listening to them anymore and turn to other games. So a few more articles like this one would have helped to flesh it out a bit. Anyway, the previous week's alert in Sol couldn't be stopped in a week, and would have become an invasion even without what happened next. What happened next was that Cocijo landed smack bang in Sol just above the Earth, and immediately caused Sol and 12 other systems to go into invasion. 4 new control systems were also created as well, including Alpha Centauri, the home of Hutton Orbital, And Wolf 359, we are the Titans, you will be assimilated. As the rescue ships moved in, 7 of them were blown away before they could take up position, including the Bertschinger, which has received 80% of all the rescues so far. Now only 4 of the original 11 rescue ships remain. Some of them may have even had rescued abductees on them, but if they did, Cocijo didn't seem to care. This could be FDev just getting rid of them as this stage of the war comes to an end, tidying up a little, but hopefully there's a story reason for it too. AX reactivation missions returned, and in the background of this video you can see me finally getting to try the Python Mark II that I put together for them months ago, only for AX reactivations to disappear on the same day the Python Mark II came out, so I never got to use it till now. FDev told everybody to defend Sol, and of course they want to play up the attack on the birthplace of humanity, even though, as I mentioned in the last video, the chances of people caring as much in 3310 as we do today in 2024 is highly unlikely. But I get it. FDev might be going for a bit of advertising, so Sol being attacked at Christmas gets the attention of the gaming press, and if it brings in new people then great, even though it's likely to be over in a week or so, or at least this stage with the Titans. The problem was, because FDev emphasised defending Sol, lots of people went into Sol to fight and rescue and deliver. What's wrong with that, you may ask? Well, no work in Sol was going to have an effect until the other invasions were taken out first. Any work before then in Sol was a bit of a wasted effort. Think of Sol as a beachhead that can't be attacked directly until the support systems around it are taken out first, weakening the beachhead until all of its support is gone and leaving it vulnerable. FDev had mentioned this in the original message, that Sol wasn't worth attacking yet, but it got lost in the noise about Sol being attacked and lots of people went for it anyway. Eventually FDev realised this and they sent another message to everybody's inbox telling them to leave Sol till last, but that was already a lot of work wasted that could have cleared the other invasions quicker if it had been done there instead. That was a concern at the time because when this week began it didn't look like we would clear all the invasions and at least one control by Thursday, and that was a bare minimum we would have to do in order to leave the Titan with only 3 controls and therefore make it vulnerable. By Tuesday morning it was looking more hopeful, with only 2 invasions left, one mostly done, one half done, and one of the controls, Wolf 359, was close to 80% done, and it started looking like we were going to do it after all. Wolf 359 ended up being the first control to get cleared, probably due to the Star Trek connection, and despite Commander Meccan from AXI giving away 100 free Anacondas to anyone who did Hutton Orbital in Alpha Centauri. Nice try, Meccan, and I don't know how many you gave away in the end, but that was a good bit of fun and a nice play on the old joke about those making it to Hutton Orbital getting a free Anaconda. A hoax which never works on me because I can't stand the ship. The Cobra 5 got delayed from Tuesday to Thursday, and this was a good move because any downtime on Tuesday would have definitely ruined our chances of making the Titan vulnerable by Thursday. Also, the module storage going from 200 to 600, that came in on Thursday as well. This is huge actually, because like increasing the inputs of every device from 32 to 128, it's not got the same attention as the other changes, but it is a huge game changer. It's allowed me to get rid of all the ships that I was using for storage, and just have all the modules to look through while only keeping the ships that I'm going to use. No more mule ships for storage, it's a lot less cluttered and more organised. By Wednesday morning, all of the invasions were cleared. Wolf 359 and Barnard's Star were done, and only 2 controlled systems remained. With 2 systems left, Cocijo was now vulnerable for Thursday, so if it stayed there and didn't spring any surprises, we could start bombing it to bits after the maintenance. And even though working in Sol wasn't going to do anything for war progress, and wouldn't affect the Titan in any way, it might also be the last chance for a while to do any rescues or deliveries or fighting at the attacked ports. So on Wednesday morning I told the squad to get in there if they wanted to, and just make the most of the cash and materials while they could. Alpha Centauri, the final system around Sol, did get cleared in the end at around 3:10 in the morning on Thursday, just under 4 hours before the morning maintenance. And that was that. Cocijo had no systems left, and we could only see what Sol did after the downtime, which was an extended downtime due to adding the Cobra Mark 5 and the module storage and whatever else they were going to do. With Cocijo now vulnerable by the normal rules and ready to be taken down on Thursday the 12th, I began wondering if it would actually sit there and let us kill it. If it did, that would leave Titan debris in Sol as a permanent fixture, or at least something that would hang around for a while, because all the other Titan debris is still around. Would the remains of Cocijo stay in Sol as an eternal reminder of the war with the Titans? Perhaps it would eventually become a point of interest, get towed a bit further out so it didn't fall to Earth in a decaying orbit, and maybe get a tourist beacon stuck on it. Or would we make the Titan vulnerable and then it would simply leave, perhaps to attack somewhere else, perhaps retreating completely and avoiding the whole debris issue? We also wondered what the consequences of the Titan exploding in Earth's orbit might be for Earth. Maybe the reason Cocijo parked there in the first place was in the not exactly solid belief that humans wouldn't be daft enough to blow it up in the orbit of their own home world. Little do they know that in Elite Dangerous, loitering is a crime punishable by death, no matter the consequences. The Stargoids have faced humanity's finest anti-Xeno warriors. They've seen their victims rescued. They've seen their damage repaired. They've watched loonies run up to them, rip bits off them and run away. But now they face their deadliest enemy yet. Earth's traffic wardens, redefining evil, one ticket at a time. Seriously though, was this Cocijo's gambit? Destroy me and you destroy the Earth. Now they know a bit more about us, they might want to know just how far we'd go and what we'd be prepared to risk and sacrifice just to take them out. That said, the ammonia worlds they were orbiting didn't seem to get damaged much by the other Titans blowing up, so maybe the Earth won't suffer that much, but it could make for a nice story twist if, for example, Earth's atmosphere got burned off or something. Because that's the thing about Christmas stories, they always have a bit of darkness in them. As far as the Stargoids are concerned, it's hard to imagine that killing Cocijo will matter to them at all. For all we know, they're sitting there thinking, knock yourselves out, monkeys, we got a million more where they came from, but if you think this futile act of defiance achieves anything, carry on, you do you. We simply don't know. Even after all this time, we know very little about the enemy we've been fighting for so long. So is this all just a bit of spectacle, the final showdown with the Titan at Sol for Christmas? A great bit of drama, very Doctor Who, but is there anything else to it? Well, so far it doesn't seem like it. Although the downtime felt longer than necessary for the usual Titan scenario, the addition of one new ship and an increase in module storage, when the servers came back up online, it was business as usual after the patch and the Titan was vulnerable in the same way as all the others have been. So if there are any surprises to come, they haven't done it yet. A community goal was released offering double-engineered SCO drives to all participants, and the bombing of the Titan began. You don't even have to sign up for the community goal, you get automatically signed up just by going in and bombing the Titan. Like the Sirius drives before them, the SCO drives are double-engineered, with increased range and fast boot, which allows them to turn on a bit faster and adds a little bit more range by itself. The same double engineering they put on the Sirius drives before in a community goal. Like the Sirius drives, adding Mass Manager to that should give you a little, or maybe even a few light years extra range, depending on the rest of your ship, and hopefully the drives will all be Class A. The difficulty of the Titan was tweaked a bit on Friday. Possibly with all the new players, they wanted it to last long enough for everyone to have a go, and the difficulty was increased by 2.5 times. But progress is steady, and on course for being done before Thursday, assuming it stays like this. Alex Zuno, who's been keeping facts and figures on the whole thing since the war began, they've put together these graphs for each Titan so far, showing how quickly it was destroyed. Tyrannus went down in just under 3 days, as the first Titan The enthusiasm for finally being able to kill one played a big part in that. Lagong, similar really, we were on a roll. The same with Oya. Haddad was the fastest of all, going down in 2 days. Indra took the longest thus far, and at least part of the reason for that was it was the 4th of July in America, and in the UK we had a general election, so a large part of the player base had a lot of real life stuff going on. But with Thor, it was back to normal, and it took just over 3 days, and then Raijin took 6 days to clear. There's a lot of possible explanations for this. The difficulty could have increased a bit, as there were only 2 Titans left. They might have wanted to make them a bit harder. But also, by this time, some people were on their 7th Titan, and the repetitive nature of the Titan bombing cycle was definitely losing its charm. The burnout was real. At the current rate, Cocijo looks to go down in about the same time frame as Raijin. Maybe a little faster, depending on how big the expected weekend push turns out to be, and how much momentum is carried forward to the end. At time of recording, late on Saturday night for me, we're halfway through the 4th heart, and that should get done by Sunday morning, leaving half the Titans still to be destroyed. In a way, it's a bit sad to see the new players coming in due to power play and getting interested in the war, only for this stage to be ending. On the other hand, how many would have stuck the course if we still had 4 Titans to go? We'll never know, but it has been a slog. A hard slog for 2 years. And it's a big ask, especially for new or casual players who are still feeling their way around with the already big learning curve the game has. Still, part of me wishes they had got to see a bit more of it. So when the dust has settled, and assuming Cocijo goes down as expected, what next? The war with the Titans is over, assuming they don't send any more, and that doesn't seem likely for several reasons. Firstly, FDev have told us repeatedly that people have told them that they want the war over with, but even they would have to admit that ending it just like this would be a bit odd. I think what people are really saying is they want the war to stop dominating the narrative and for other stories and things to do, and it's not the war as such that they're really objecting to, but the way the focus for the last 2 years has been on the war and nothing else. If there's another stage to the war and it ends up running parallel with all the other stories without dominating the narrative, I don't think they'll mind so much. But sending more Titans would be a bit much right now. But it is hard to think that once the last Titan goes down, that's it. The end of the Second Stargoid War that began with the first station attack 7 years ago. Because it's worth reminding people, as well as informing new people who may not know, that although many people think of the war as starting when the Titans came 2 years ago, the Stargoids were attacking us for at least 5 years before that, and arguably longer if we go back to the events that led to those first station attacks in December 3303. So this war is actually over 7 years old now. The Titans weren't the start of it, they were an escalation of it. As to whether they'll mark the end of it, or what could happen next, it could go anywhere from here. Will the Stargoids leave us alone, or will they conduct further attacks on us? They've left it open for them to continue in some form if they want to, or just come back any time. Having introduced an asset like the Titan, it does seem unlikely that we'll never see one again. But if, as we suspect, their strikes from now on will be more surgical in nature, then a Titan is a blunt instrument. So perhaps we'll have one as a backup to reinforce an operation, rather than leading one? As always, we'll have to see. But they are pretty spectacular looking, and the thought of them disappearing from the game forever is a bit hard to conceive. It's also unlikely we'll get much more in the way of story, because FDev are off after next week for Christmas, and so presumably we'll destroy the Titan, get the usual 24 hours to rescue what we can before it blows, and whatever happens after that, they might leave us with a bit of story on Friday the 20th, or we might not find out more till after Christmas. If any story bits do pop up, I'll quickly cover them. Whatever may or may not happen in the future, the knowledge about humans from Shojune's mind will be a vital plot point going forward. What have they learned? What have they understood? And how, in practical terms, are they going to apply that knowledge in future, if at all? Last time out I said that on the most simple level, it allows them to identify important targets. They don't have to know all the reasons why they're important, just that they are. Another thing they might have got, in practical terms, was actually speculated about 6.5 years ago, in April 3304. 6 months after the first station attack, this article has Pranav Antal talking all doom and gloom, saying he thinks we may ultimately lose the war with the Stargoids, and so therefore his SIM archive, which stores the memories of former employees and others, needs more protection than ever if it's going to be all that's left of humanity. Naturally he gets slammed for it by a commander who's fought against them in the Pleiades, saying we're not done yet, not so done that we need to turn ourselves into software. But it's what the retired military strategist says that may provide another clue about something they could have learned. A more practical concern was raised by Marquis Felix Navantico, a retired military strategist for the Imperial Navy. Pranav Antal's pessimism notwithstanding, an increase in security for his SIM archive is logically sound. The data it contains makes it a valuable prize for our enemy. Should the Stargoids gain access to it, it could lead to a better understanding of human psychology and allow them to anticipate our tactics more effectively. So, on top of being able to identify important targets, the article suggests another practical use for the knowledge they've gained: to anticipate our tactics more effectively. In hindsight, you can even see this article from 6.5 years ago as a foreshadowing of the worst possible thing that could happen if the Stargoids ever found out how our minds work. And now they do. For years, players have often ridiculed the Stargoids for not changing their tactics much or seemingly learning any new ones. So for now, by all means, celebrate the last Titan going down. It's been a long, hard slog for 2 years to defeat all 8 of them, and everyone involved deserves to celebrate and have a well-deserved rest for a bit. But we should also be wary of the future, because perhaps the next time we meet them, the joke will be on us. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.